We knew we wanted to parallel his college years with that season. Obviously, we didn't know that the season was going to go the way it did. I mean, I gave him a lot of pep talks,
He did. He did.
and he's, he takes direction well. So we'd like to take a little credit for how things went.
We are finally getting this glimpse inside of Stephen Curry's life in a way that we've never really had before. Peter, when you were going into making this project, what did you think you were going to capture about Steph?
I was nervous, to be honest. Like, anybody knows my career, I'm a hardcore cinema verite guy, no interviews, none of that. And so when this movie, came to me, I really had to think about it. But what intrigued me was this notion of, from a documentarian's point of view, going beyond the surface of what we all know about Steph Curry, or about any celebrity or athlete. And that challenge really sort of drew me. And the more I learned about, people didn't see him when he was younger. They didn't understand his potential, except for a very select few. And the role that those people played in his development, the role his family played, and the role that the Davidson community played in that was really different, and something that I didn't know about him.
Eric, when you and Steph were kind of deciding, okay, a documentary is one of the things that we want to do at Unanimous. Mm-hmm. What was it about this style, about this idea, that kind of made him say, yes, I'm ready to share my story?
It's authentic to who he is. I think knowing Pete's career and how he shoots, and he wanted to let the story be told through the style that Pete is so good at. And I think that's why the time was now. It was sort of like an alignment of the moons. It was also Stefan's idea to graduate during the filming. So it's funny, like when Pete sat down with him, we were all talking about the mission and what we wanted to accomplish. And then when I don't know if Pete, if you remember this, but when he left, the SC was like, what if I graduated during this as well? And I was like, that's amazing. But then it's like, there's a team that has to help him sort of do that. He obviously has a day job with the Golden State Warriors. But that's why the time was now, is really trying to create a story. At Unanimous, we just try to inspire through everything. And, to have a story that really just inspires, and with him leading it, that's why we felt like.
Marissa, what is it like for you to kind of be, launching this film here at Sundance?
Oh, it means so much. Every now and then you have a film where the subject is amazing, the team behind, the subject is amazing, and the film team comes together and collaborates. Every single person that you look at tonight who is part of our crew and part of our whole family and team put blood, sweat, and tears into this project, and to just be here, I get goosebumps, just so excited to see it on the big screen.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things we get a chance to see in the film. This is kind of looking at Stefan's Davidson career and juxtaposing it with the 2022 season. What was it like kind of pulling back and going to, this place that was so formative in his coming up and his growing up both as a player and as a young man?
It's what's special about the film, and we talked about it all the time. The expected thing maybe would be to follow Steph during the season, chasing after a championship. That's sort of perhaps the expected thing. But that story of Davidson and how tight that community was, and sort of how off the grid, nobody really knew about Davidson, and the role that Coach McKillop played in Steph's life, the role that the players on that team and the family that they had, and the fact that, Jay Rich is still in his life, and you have those scenes. We really wanted to lean into that because it was the thing that, I don't think that's the story that hasn't really been told. The first time I met him, aside from him dropping his quesadilla, he recovered quickly though, with dignity. Was he shared these videos of his time at they were like school videos of they had this thing called the Davidson Show, and he was flicking through, and you could just see the pride, and how important that time of his life was, and the fact that he knew that we were about to try to tell that story was so special to him, and that really sort of, for me, I understood the importance of that time in his life, and to be able to tell that and to marry that with the today, which was the other storyline, was him trying to fulfill a promise that he made to his mother years earlier, because he never graduated from Davidson because he declared for the NBA draft, and he was the first player not that Coach McKillop did not graduate, and Sonia was the first in her family to go to college, and how important education was to her. And now that he's got kids and his children see him, this is a story, again, a story about family, that he wanted to do that for his children. So all those, sort of dovetail together.
There's this one incredible run where we really get a chance to see, that Elite Eight moment up against the finals in 2022. What was it like to witness just kind of the real parallel that happened on the court as well with, when you see these shots next to each other?
It was emotional. I mean, to see, because, the story, you don't know what's going to happen today, but we knew what happened then, and they fell short. They fell short in 2008, and initially we were like, how? Like, is it going to be anti-structurally? Where do we land the plane? How does the story end? Because there's unfinished business there. And so for the season to unfold the way it did for the Warriors, coming off of the worst season in franchise history, I believe, and having everybody basically saying the Warriors are done, their moment has passed, Steph is getting old, almost like an echo of the original doubt that was sort of placed on him, and for them to sort of push through that was almost like divine in some way. And I mean, it's hard to explain.
Stephen is such an icon. He's he's already won championships, and like early on in the season, it looked like it was going to be a pretty tough season. They had some challenges they had to get through, and we really show that in the film. He even got injured, but to see him still come back with like the integrity and like intensity, and he came back, and the team was really incredible.
And to understand the context of that, and the full scope of telling the story of his parents, his grandmother, Grandma Candy, the community of Davidson, his coach, and really understanding the ecosystem of support and belief that you understood now when he was in his darkest moments. How he pushed through that, I think, added a layer of emotion to the movie, because we just don't get that perspective on a lot of people who do amazing things in our culture, whether it's an athlete, whether it's an actor, whether it's an artist. We don't get that point of view, and so that's something that gave that film such emotional resonance.